there's something I've wondered since I started playing guitar until just about this afternoon, which is how much practice does it take to get good? Or how much practice does it take until I'm good? I think one of the main driving reasons that I wondered it was because I started playing guitar pretty late, or at least I started playing it seriously pretty late. There was a guitar like in the house and whatever, but it wasn't until like about 16 and a half or so that I started like practicing. And even then it was like, yeah, I'll practice, but I'm going to teach myself and I'm going to do it myself and I got this. And the stubbornness has been since early on. Because I started later, I always felt like I had to catch up, you know, like I was always behind or something. And it actually took a while to kind of train myself to like let go of that. And by a while, I mean like 7 to 10 years. Now this wasn't like an obsession of mine or anything. It wasn't like every day spending hours wondering. This was something like I just kind of felt. You know, it was something that I would wonder every now and again, but I felt more often. And so I'm making this video in case any of you out there are like the old me, and sometimes the present me. One thing to honestly consider when you're trying to get good at something is that it's going to take at least a few years. The chances of you getting like awesome at something within 1 year, at almost anything, are pretty low. Like, no one, I don't want to say no one ever, but like, it's really hard to, you know, fully kind of express yourself within a medium within 1 year. Whether it be a sport, the arts, whatever, things take time. Another thing to keep in mind is like, how good overall do you want to get? Like, say I wanted to be a really good rock guitar player. That would take infinitely less time than being a good rock guitar player, country guitar player, jazz guitar player, blues guitar player, blah, 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 etc. I don't know if any of you have tried flamenco guitar playing, but it's almost impossible. Well, at least to like do it right. So setting a goal can really help kind of put things in perspective. How long until I'm good at everything? You'll naturally be able to go, that's going to take a long while, but I can kind of, you know, get better at all these different things. I can always be really excited. I can always whatever. You can find positives. You can find a good timeline. You can find how much work you would have to do. If you're like, I just want to play blues or something, then it's going to be a much easier road because you'll know kind of exactly what you want to do. If someone goes, oh, you know what's also good about blues? This nylon classical guitar. And you're like, don't know. Like, I'm focused. I'm on a mission. I'm going to go get there first. Also, something to keep in mind is like, when I was growing up, I would read interviews, you know, watch interviews with some of my favorite guitar players, and they were like, yeah, I used to practice 15 hours a day, something, and like whatever. And maybe that's what it took then, because there were no guitar books, there was fewer teachers, rock was this weird new music then. I think jazz might have been a weird new music then. Like, it was a while ago. Like, things have become easier to learn. Information has become more available and of better quality. Granted, there's also a lot of distractions now, but that's a whole nother story. The point is you can actually get to where people used to get much quicker. If any of your heroes are, say, over 40, you can get to where they got by such and such time much quicker because of the resources you have. A lot of the guitar courses that YouTubers offer sometimes are actually based off of their life experiences and the information they got while they were at music school. So for $100, you're getting quite a lot. So given that it's going to be a little quicker than whatever your heroes had, still, how long does it take? Personally, I would say, and again, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not too young, I'm not too old. I would say at least a few years. At least I always had the impression that you kind of need to be a little obsessed for a few years. Maybe a little less obsessed for some years beyond that, but sort of obsessed. I don't mean that you're skipping meals or, you know, compromising relationships. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that you're quite focused for at least a few years. It also comes down to the quality of the focus, right? So like 7 hours of me just jamming over blues backing tracks just makes me really good at jamming over blues backing tracks, which is fine. But, you know, half that amount of time, you know, instead of 6 hours doing that, I do 3 hours and I spend 30 minutes warming up with scales and then 30 minutes of chords. 30 minutes of learning some songs, 30 minutes of soloing, 30 minutes of learning licks, 30 minutes of just free play, then I got a lot more done in half the time. That amount of focus for 3 years, I think you'll get probably where you need to be. Will you be Mark Lettieri? Probably not, but will you be close? Yeah, I think so, honestly. If he was your goal, if that style was your goal, yeah, I think you can get close to that within 3 years. I'm also speaking of like being able to pick up a guitar and immediately sound like your goal. So there was a thing that would happen a lot when I was at college, and I would be practicing speed and scales and stuff. And by the end of the day, by the end of the night rather, I was much faster than I was at the beginning. I was like, oh wow, I've gotten so much faster, and this is just how fast I am now. No, that was as fast as I could possibly play. I would always wake up the next morning, start playing, and go, why am I so stiff? Why is this not working like it was like 8 hours ago? What's going on? Let's be honest, 6 hours ago. What's going on? And, you know, it's one of those things where every day you kind of get to this height and then you wake up and you're back down here. And you just kind of got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you get to the point where you can just pick up the guitar and sound like how you want to sound. So what was the answer? At least a few years, depending on your goal. Again, certain things you can get within 3 years. If you want to like master the history of the beginning to now of jazz or something, that'll probably take longer to master everything. But are you going to be able to play gigs and write tunes? Yeah, you'll be fine. One thing I think that doesn't get brought up enough is the fact that like you also over time will get to know your own strengths. So like if I wanted to be an amazing jazz player, I still grew up listening to some jazz and also listening to a lot of rap and rock and classical and blues. I listened to a lot of other things. If I had just listened to jazz, maybe I would be coming at it from a more authentic place or something, or a more knowledgeable place. But I listened to a lot of other music, and some of it I probably loved a little bit more. So I kind of have to look within a little bit and go, what do I also do? What do I do naturally? If you're able to identify your own specific strengths and weaknesses, you kind of become a bit more personalized of a player, and you become a bit more comfortable and confident with what you can do. Because you know, like, hey, this comes naturally, I can do this. If I try at this, I will get better really quickly. This, I kind of suck at it. It's something to pay attention to and work on, but I know that I will never, really excel in this area. That's fine. That's something to know, and it's something to, I think, kind of embrace. I've heard enough recordings of myself and kind of like different ensembles, different bands, and been like, oh, there's a few there's a few of these recordings where I'm like, oh, I really fit in there, and a few of these recordings where I'm like, that isn't bad. Like, guitar is happening and it is appropriate, but some of these others, I'm like, wow, that was really awesome. I'm like really proud of that. I was really happy to have those recordings because I'm like, oh, like maybe I should learn from this and kind of move in this direction. Still keep this, burner burning, but maybe like specialize a little bit. One of the wonderful things about having that time is you get to enjoy that amount of time. It's not like, oh, I have to it's 3 years and I have to focus, and it's not like, it's not meant to terrorize you. It's meant to go, hey, you get to enjoy a few years of really focusing and really getting deep with your music. There's no need to rush any of this. Like, it would almost be a mistake, honestly, because a lot of, over time perspectives change, and over time you kind of learn from a few different areas. You learn the same stuff, 3 different ways. You're getting a much deeper knowledge. You want 3 years. You want a few years. You don't want 6 months. Trust me, you don't want to be an awesome blues player in 6 months, because you just won't be. Or you won't be to the same level that you could be in 3. And that's something to really, take this guitar with you throughout your life. Take your guitar with you over the months, over the years, over the etc., and continue to grow with it. Like, keep that passion flame a-burning. When you start to see it that way, less of like I gotta get to the end of the finish line, and more of like, this is a great journey, then honestly, it sounds kind of cheesy and whatever, sure, but it's a lot more fun, honestly. It's so much more fun, and when I learned to kind of think of it like that, just really opened up like, I think I'm going to do this, I think I'm going to do that, I think I'm going to work on this, I think I'm going to work on that. Actually, this, I start to follow kind of my instincts and my excitement as opposed to I should do this. And when I follow my instincts and my excitement, I actually get a lot more done and I feel a lot better. For instance, I'm still not very good at bebop, even though I understand the language a bit more. And if I spent a lot of time just trying to be a great bebop player, I'd be like, cool, now I'm a good bebop player. So what? So hopefully this video puts a few of you at ease if you were like my former self and kind of freaking out like, oh man, I gotta get good now, I gotta get good now. Being like, here's a reasonable timeline, you know, it's gonna be fine. Like, you can reach whatever your dreams are actually a lot sooner than you'd think. If you like this video, please consider liking or subscribing, and if you'd like a lesson, please reach out with the links below. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks for dropping by the channel. We're excited about guitar.